What's up, everybody? It's Alan's Movie Talk, back at it again. Just got back from seeing Companion, so let's talk about it. So I saw that my local AMC was doing the AMC Scream Unseen today, and that usually indicates that it's a horror movie. And I figured there was only a couple of releases that it could be that are all coming out, within the most recent time frame. So I decided to get a ticket and go check it out. I was hearing a lot of rumblings that it was going to be Companion, which was a film I was very much looking forward to. So I went to my local AMC, sat down, and did in fact realize that it was Companion. So I was very excited, and the film was incredible. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I absolutely love this film, and it is the first great film so far of 2025 to me. So what got me hooked initially was that original trailer that we got, 3 or 4 months ago. I thought it was a trailer that was very intriguing and shows you a lot, but then also doesn't give away a lot of the plot, and intrigued me in a way where I wanted to go see it. I also saw that some of the producers who involved with Barbarian were involved with this film, and from what I could tell from that initial trailer, it felt like that this was going to be another story in the same vein as Barbarian, that takes you for a wild ride and lots of twists and turns. So even though I very much enjoyed this film, the first thing I want to talk about specifically is a negative. It's not a negative of the film, from a filmmaking perspective or just my enjoyment of the film. It really has to do with the marketing. Like I said, I loved that first teaser trailer. I felt like that was one of the better teaser trailers that I've seen in quite some time, and it got me hooked. Then, earlier this month, they released the official trailer, which is, the main trailer that kind of gives more of the plot and the story. And I had heard some rumblings, essentially what happens in that trailer, I just got spoiled for me on my X feed by someone who had watched it and then retweeted it and essentially just said what was in the trailer. So I was like, well, I already have that moment told to me, so I'm going to go ahead and watch the trailer anyways. And I did. And, obviously at the time I didn't know if it was going to be a big spoiler or anything like that. But now that I've seen the movie, I think I can confidently say that if you have not already seen that second trailer for this film, avoid doing so, as much as you possibly can. And even some of the posters, too, because there were some posters for this film that gave it away as well. And normally I wouldn't say that, but I really felt like if it wasn't the only twist of the film, but I really felt like if I hadn't known about that twist going into the film, it just would have made a movie that I already loved that much more enjoyable. So if anyone asks me or you want my advice, I'm going to tell you to avoid that trailer like the plague. Go into this movie as blind as possible. It was such an enjoyable film, and to me, even though, like I said, there are plenty of other twists, and we'll kind of get into that when I get deeper into my positives, the one they gave out in the trailer was a big one. I feel like it was kind of early on in the film, but it was not early enough for me that it needed to be in the trailer. So that's, like I said, I'm going to start with my negative, and, give that up front, just because, if you don't want to know anything about that thing that was shown in the trailer, I wouldn't continue watching this review, and I would avoid that trailer, go see the movie, and then come back and watch this review, because it's kind of going to be hard for me to talk about what I loved about this film without at least giving you the premise. So that's, kind of my first negative and what I think about what this film's marketing did. So really, to kick off my positives, this film, really right front and center, the thing that worked the best about this film to me is the storytelling. It was told in a way, it had so many twists and turns throughout the entire film, and it was just told in such a compelling way that made me completely invested throughout the entire film. It does such a great job with the tone of this film. They blend the horror aspects and the comedy together so seamlessly, and it makes for just such a fun experience at the movies. I went and saw this, like I said, at the AMC Screen Unseen, and it was a full theater. I mean, there was maybe a few seats in the entire theater that I was in, and that just made for a very enjoyable experience because everybody there was very invested in the story and was just very involved in the movie, and it had everybody on the edge of our seats for the entire runtime. The storytelling to me was just masterful in this film. And then, like I said, I am gonna, like I said, get into those mild spoilers that were put into the trailer. So if you don't want to see anything, or know anything about this film, bow out now and come back and watch the rest of this later. So I'm gonna start talking about that now. To me, the themes of this film are just executed and done very, very well. Specifically, Iris is a robot. She's a companion robot for the lead character, Josh, played by Jack Wade. And the themes that they went through in the film, and it's going to be so hard to talk about this movie really without giving any other spoilers besides that, just worked so well about, the relationships between AI and humans. And, if this film kind of encapsulates a futuristic world, but one that is really not that far off. If we all know the advancements in technology that are happening with AI specifically, and when you watch this film, they craft the world so eloquently that you really believe that this is a world that we're not that far off from. So when you get those character dynamics of how the characters act with Sophie Thatcher's character Iris being a companion robot, it was just so interesting. And the conversations that they had about, what that means for humanity and what that means for that technology, if it, ever becomes a reality, was just so interesting. Yeah, I mean, I was hooked, and the premise and the themes of this film really did it for me and executed it very well. And then, like I said before, I mean, even though they give away a big plot point of the film that I felt that they shouldn't have, this film does have some unexpected stuff that happens still, even with knowing that. So even for someone like me, who I was upset that I had found that out through the trailer, I felt like there was the twist that happened even after that and into the back half of the film and where the story goes, I felt like worked very, very well and still kept me on the edge of my seat and surprised throughout the entire runtime. And my God, the performances from the two leads here, Sophie Thatcher as Iris, Jack Quaid as Josh, they both were incredible, and for completely different reasons. Again, I can't really get into specifics, without giving away plot details, but man, both of them just had great performances. Their chemistry with one another, absolutely fantastic. Sophie Thatcher is, in my opinion, with her performance in this and Heretic, she's definitely an up-and-coming star in the horror genre. And I'm very excited to see what else she can provide in this genre, what else she plans on doing in the future. I mean, she's a great actor. And the performance that she has to have, obviously, with who her character is and the implications of her character in the film, was just brilliant, And then Jack Quaid as well, again, I don't want to really go into spoiler, but what he was given as a character in this film, he did a great job with. And him too, with this performance in this film and then, him in Scream 5, I really feel like Jack Quaid does a great job in the horror genre and is somebody I would like to see in more horror movies going forward. And I know I talked about this earlier in the review, but the tone of this film was just masterfully done. I mean, blending the thrills and the horror with the dark humor and the comedy was just done so well. I mean, the editing and the way they did it, it didn't feel jarring whatsoever, and it was perfectly mashed together. There would be scenes where you're laughing at the jokes that are happening. It's a fun, high energy, back and forth between characters where you're laughing and they're making jokes, and then it just cuts to a horror scene, a very thrilling, on the edge of your seat moments where stuff happens that's like, whoa, I can't believe we just went there, but it doesn't feel jarring in any way. So it was just done masterfully. Drew Hancock, the director of this film, I'm not familiar with any of his other work. I don't know how, I haven't really looked into his career or anything, but his direction in this film was just great. I mean, he did a great job creating this world and balancing the tones that he wanted with this film. And the cinematography was great too. This film looks beautiful. I don't know how many like digital effects were done with this film. I imagine some things definitely were done digitally, but they also mixed in the practical effects as well, and it made the world in this film just feel that much more real. So I definitely have to commend the director Drew Hancock for the job that he did here. This was a fantastic film. But for me, as much as I love this film, I did have two issues with it. One of them I already talked about, and it wasn't really with the film. I felt like it was more for the marketing. But the other issue that I had that actually did have to do with the film and some of some issues I had with it is that even though I said that I felt like the thematic exploration, of human interaction with AI and robots, I felt like that was done masterfully. There were some other social commentary issues that they brought up in this film, like entitlement and misogyny and just a bunch of other things like that I felt like were only done on a surface level in the film, and weren't as explored as the, AI versus human themes that they had in the film. So I would have, in a perfect movie, I would have had, a little bit more exploration on those themes, but I kind of understand, from a narrative and storytelling perspective, why they decided to put a heavy focus more on that main theme of the film. And then also, too, like, the movie is an hour and a half. I mean, it is a crisp, paced film that is just go, go, go right from the beginning, and has you hooked right from the beginning. So, even though I'm kind of grasping at straws, I would consider that a negative. I don't necessarily know what I would change in the film to make that work more. It's just something I felt like maybe got a little bit left behind in favor of other things for the film. And this part of it isn't really a negative for me per se, but I do have a feeling after watching this that some people with certain elements of the story are going to say that this is maybe familiar to something like Black Mirror, with some of the certain storylines that we hit with the AI robot companion part of the storyline. So, I didn't really mind some of those familiar things. But I know some other people, when I'm talking about originality and how I felt like this was a unique and fresh take, might say, hey, I didn't really feel that way. So, but not a negative for me. Just something that I observed and think that other people might complain about. But yeah, overall, guys, I mean, I'm very positive on this film. Like I said, this is the first truly great film to me of 2025. Standout performances from Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid. A story that will have you intrigued from the jump, that explores some very interesting themes that'll have you asking the same questions that the movie presents you to yourself. And just a perfectly toned balance of dark humor and thriller and horror. Like I said, I had a blast with this film. The first truly great film of 2025 in my eyes is Companion. On a rating scale, this is going to get a 4.5 out of 5 for me. Outside of those small little things with the marketing and some of the story, what they left out in the story, just keeps it from being almost perfect for me. Knowing my taste and what I love in movies, I would be very, very surprised if this isn't in my top 10 at the end of this year. I know it's very early, but this is a movie I think that was just tailor-made for me to enjoy. So I'd be very surprised. We would have a great year in my eyes if this is not in my top 10 by the end of the year. I loved it, and I can't wait to go see it again. So for anyone out there that has already seen Companion, go ahead, comment below, let me know what you thought. And, subscribe if you haven't. I'm planning on uploading more reviews more consistently. And I'm probably going to go see Heart Eyes on Thursday. I did get an early screener for that. And then maybe catch another movie early next week. So, look out for those reviews. Everyone, have a great night.